Hey folks, thanks for stopping by. I'm Edward Freeman, aka Everett Vale. I'm an author, and today I'm going to be reading to you from one of my own books. It is a short story called The Forgotten Cloister. Uh, I've I've written it, and since I haven't been able to find a way to get audiobooks made of my books that don't cost me an arm and a leg, uh, I'm going to record this myself, and I'm going to put it up here on YouTube for free. And eventually I'll be doing the same with my other books. um, yeah, guys, if you like what you hear in this book today and you're interested to read anything I've written, just go to freemanvaleauthor.com. That's FREEMANVALEAUTHOR.com. You can get all of my titles there, and and you can choose whether you want Amazon to fulfill it, Barnes and Nobles. It has the choice of my bookstore and a couple others on there. So yeah, stop by, check it out. At least stop by and see what all I have to offer. All right, guys, let's get right on into it. This is The Forgotten Cloister by Edward Freeman. Me. Chapter 1. The Uninvited Stranger. The rain fell sharp, cold sheets outside Catherine Kate Moreau's dimly lit study. A gas lamp flickered weakly by the window, its light just strong enough to illuminate the aging manuscripts scrawled across her desk. Kate leaned back in her chair, eyes tired from hours of reading lines of Old Latin. Her work, restoring ancient texts, often left her feeling as weathered as the book she handled. The knock on the door startled her. It was too late for deliveries, and she wasn't expecting visitors. Her small home in Greystone Village sat on the edge of town where few dared venture after sundown. The knock came again, 3 deliberate raps, slow and measured. Kate rose reluctantly, wrapping her shawl around her shoulders, and opened the door. A man stood there, his face obscured by the brim of a wide hat dripping with rain. His coat was tattered, and his gloved hands held a small, ornate box. Without a word, he thrust it toward her. "Miss Moreau," he said, his voice gravelly and low, "this is yours now." I think you've made a mistake," Kate began, but the man stepped back into the shadows. "Keep it sealed," he warned, "or they'll come for you." Before she could protest further, he disappeared into the night, leaving Kate standing in the doorway, clutching the cold, damp box. Inside, she examined the object. The box was small, no larger than her palm, and made of smooth ebony, inlaid with intricate carvings that seemed to shift under the flickering light. A faint hum emanated from it, a sound she could feel in her teeth more than hear. Kate hesitated, but her curiosity got the better of her. She opened the box. Inside was an obsidian seal, circular and etched with cryptic runes, that pulsed faintly with an inner glow. Alongside it was a note, written in a hand so spidery and small that she had to squint to make out the words. "The cloister awaits. Enter, or the forgotten will find you." The cryptic message chilled her, but her curiosity overrode her unease. She pulled her chair close to the desk and set the seal under the lamp. The runes glowed brighter now, as if they reacted to her touch. Turning it over in her hands, she noticed the strange markings on the back, ones she recognized from the Codex Obscura, a manuscript she had worked on years ago. A crash sounded from the kitchen. Kate jumped, dropping the seal, hit the floor with a heavy thunk, far louder than its size should allow. Her heart pounded as she crept toward the kitchen, clutching a heavy candlestick for protection. The room was empty. Only the sound of dripping water from the sink broke the silence. She turned back toward her study and froze. The seal was gone. The hum returned louder now, filling the house with ominous vibration. Shadows stretched unnaturally, long across the walls, pulling in the corners like living ink. A shape moved at the edge of her vision, too fast for her to follow. Panic clawed at her throat. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice trembling. She backed towards the study, candlestick held high, but the room seemed to shrink around her, the walls closing in like a trap. A whisper brushed her ear, though no one was near. "They see you now, Kate Moreau." She whirled around, swinging the candlestick widely, but struck only air. The vibration ceased abruptly, plunging the house into a suffocating silence. When she returned to the study, the seal sat on the desk as if it had never moved. Its glow dimmed, but still present. The note, however, was gone. Shaken, Kate grabbed the seal and shoved it back into the box. Snapping the lid shut, her instincts screamed at her to throw it into the fire, but some deeper part of her, call it curiosity or perhaps a darker compulsion, stopped her. She thought of the man at her door, his warning, "Keep it sealed or they'll come for you." Who were they? And what was the cloister? Unable to sleep, Kate sat by the window, the box clutched tightly in her lap. Outside, the rain continued to fall, drumming a steady rhythm against the glass. But as the hours wore on, she began to notice something unsettling. The streets of Greystone Village were empty. Not a single person, not even the stray cats that usually prowled the alleyways, stirred. The village felt abandoned, hollowed out by some unseen force. And then, in the distance, she saw them, figures cloaked in shadow, moving toward her house. Their shapes wavered like smoke, and their faces were indistinct, shifting like reflections in a disturbed pond. Kate's breath hitched. She tightened her grip on the box. "I'll keep it sealed," she whispered, as though the words alone could protect her. But deep down, she knew the truth. The seal had already marked her, and now there was no turning back. Chapter 2. The Call. The following morning, Catherine Moreau woke to a pale sun filtering weakly through her curtains, her memories of the night feeling like fragments of a fever dream. Yet the box sat where she had left it, on her desk, an unyielding reminder that something had indeed happened. She approached it cautiously, half expecting the box to thrum to life again. Instead, it lay silent, but silence was its own menace. Kate decided she needed answers. By noon, she stood before the imposing doors of Greystone University, a place she hadn't visited in years. Its Gothic architecture loomed like a judgment. The gargoyles perched above seemed to sneer as she entered. Inside the library was cavernous, its long rows of books seeming to stretch forever. She found him in the rare manuscripts wing. Professor Elliot Brandt was a gaunt man in his 60s, with sharp features that made him seem as if he were carved from stone. His white hair framed a face that looked permanently etched with suspicion. He glanced up from the brittle scroll he was studying and fixed her with his piercing gray eyes. "Kate Moreau," he said, his voice gravelly, "I thought you'd disappeared into the dusty void of Greystone's archives. To what do I owe this pleasure?" Kate placed the box on the table between them without a word. Brandt's demeanor changed instantly. His jovial sarcasm dissolved, replaced by something harder, more guarded. He extended a hand toward the box, but hesitated as if touching it might ignite something dangerous. "Where did you get this?" he demanded. "A man brought it to my door last night," Kate replied. "He told me to keep it sealed, but I opened it." Brandt muttered a curse under his breath and rose from his chair, pacing the room. "Do you have any idea what you've stumbled into?" "I was hoping you could tell me." He stopped and studied her intently. as though trying to decide whether she was worth the effort. Then he returned to his chair, pulling a heavy tome from a nearby shelf. The book's cover was worn, its title in Latin, Mysteria Occulta. Brant flipped through its pages until he found what he was looking for. The Cloister of Lament, he said, tapping it and engraving on the page. The image depicted a circular seal identical to the one in the box. A myth, or so I thought. It's said to be a refuge where mortal and celestial realms overlap, a place where the boundaries of reality are thin. Refuge, Kate echoed. It doesn't feel like one. Because it isn't, Brent snapped. The cloister is cursed. Its true purpose was twisted long ago. Now it serves as a feeding ground for an entity known only as the unseen. It lures people in, offering promises of knowledge or salvation, but it feeds on their despair. Kate's skin prickled at his words. And what about this? She gestured toward the box. The seal. That, Brant said grimly, is the key. Without it, the cloister remains dormant. But now that you've touched it, you've awakened it. Her breath caught. Awakened what? Brant's silence was answer enough. As he spoke, the shadows in the room seemed to grow heavier, as though the mere mention of the cloister's name had summoned its presence. The air turned cold, and Kate shivered. Why me? She asked, her voice trembling. I'm no one special. That's the thing about the cloister, Brant said. It doesn't care who you are. All it cares about is what you hide. The guilt, the grief, the regrets you bury. Those are what it feeds on. Kate shook her head, backing away from the table. This is insane. I'm just a restorer. I don't want any part of this. Brant sighed. You don't have a choice. The moment you touch that seal, you became marked. The unseen will come for you, and it will haunt your dreams, twist your reality, until you're drawn to the cloister of your own accord. No, she whispered, her hands trembling. There has to be a way to stop it. Brant hesitated and leaned forward. There might be a way. Destroy the seal, and you sever the cloister's connection to you. But I warn you, doing so could unleash consequences far worse than what you're facing now. Kate left the university with her thoughts churning. The seal felt heavier in her bag, as though it had gained mass since Brant's warning. The streets of Greystone seemed different now, less familiar. Faces blurred past her, and shadows moved where none should have been. Every step she took seemed to echo, as though something unseen following her. She arrived home. The box was no longer in her bag. Her heart sank as she found it waiting on her desk, open, the seal glowing faintly in the dim light. And this time, the hum returned. Kate dropped the bag and stumbled backward as the room seemed to shift around her. The walls stretched and warped, their surfaces rippling like water. A faint voice whispered her name from the shadows, and a figure began to take shape, a figure cloaked in black smoke, its face a void of shifting nothingness. Catherine Moreau, it said, its voice both a whisper and a scream. The cloister awaits. The room dissolved into darkness. Chapter 3. A Fractured World. The darkness was suffocating, pressing against Kate's skin like wet cloth. She stumbled forward blindly, her arms outstretched in a futile attempt to find something solid. A faint hum pulsed through the void, rising and falling like a heartbeat. It grew louder with every step, reverberating in her skull until her knees buckled under its weight. Then a light, a single wavering ember in the blackness. Kate crawled toward it, her breath ragged, and as she neared, the light expanded. Shadows peeled away, revealing the world around her. It was Greystone, but twisted. The quaint cobblestone streets were cracked and overgrown with thorned vines. The sky was an unnatural shade of gray, streaked with crimson veins that pulsated faintly. Buildings leaned at impossible angles, their windows darkened and hollow. What is this place? Kate whispered. The cloister, a voice replied. It was deep, resonant, and entirely unfamiliar. Kate turned to see the figure, standing a few feet away. He was tall and shrouded in tattered robes, his face obscured by a hood. The air around him shimmered as though he existed just out of sync with reality. Kate staggered to her feet. Who are you? How did I get here? You touched the seal, the figure said, his voice calm but edged with menace. It has chosen you. Chosen me for what? She demanded, her fear giving way to anger. I never asked for this. None do, the figure replied. The cloister draws those whose lives are fragmented, whose regrets and fears make them ripe for its trials. Kate backed away. I'm not staying here. The figure tilted its head as if amused. There's no escape, Catherine Moreau. Not unless you confront what you've buried. Before Kate could respond, the ground beneath her shifted violently. A chasm opened where she had been standing, and she barely managed to leap aside. From the fissure rose a figure, a man, his face pale and gaunt, his eyes sunken and wild. He staggered forward, reaching out with skeletal hands. Help me, he rasped. I don't want to be forgotten. Kate recoiled as the man collapsed at her feet. His body disintegrated into ash, swept away by an unseen wind. She looked up at the hooded figure, her terror boiling over into rage. What is this place doing to us? She shouted. The cloister does not destroy, the figure replied. It reveals. Those who fail to face their truths are consumed by the unseen. You would do well to learn from their fates. Kate clenched her fist. You talk in riddles, but you haven't answered the most important question. Why me? What does this place want from me? The figure stepped closer, its presence towering over her. You carry guilt, Catherine. It stains you like blood on silk. The cloister feeds on such wounds. It also offers redemption for those strong enough to claim it. Before Kate could respond, the figure vanished, leaving her alone in the desolate streets. The hum returned, louder this time, and the sky darkened further. She turned a corner and froze. 3 figures stood ahead, their backs to her. Each was encased in shadow, their features indistinct. As she approached cautiously, one of them turned, a young man with paint-streaked hands and hollow eyes. Who are you? Kate called out. The man blinked as though surprised by her presence. Adrian, he said hesitantly. Adrian Carrick. You're not one of them, are you? None of what? Kate asked, lowering her guard slightly. He pointed toward the other figures. The Forgotten. They look human, but they're not. They'll turn on you the moment you trust them. Kate regarded the other 2 warily. A woman stepped forward, her face streaked with grime, her clothes tattered. I'm Mira, she said, her voice hard, and I'm very much alive. You can believe what you want, but if we don't work together, none of us are getting out of this. Adrian scoffed. There is no getting out. The cloister doesn't let anyone leave. Then why are we still here? Mira shot back. If the cloister just wanted to kill us, we'd be dead already. There has to be a way to fight it. Kate interjected. The seal. I think it's connected to all of this. A man I spoke to, he said it might be the key to ending this nightmare. Adrian's eyes narrowed. If that's true, then the cloister isn't going to let you use it. It'll throw everything it has at you to stop you. Then we'd better be ready, Mira said, determination hardening her features. The hum intensified, and the air grew colder. Shadows began to ripple and move, stretching across the ground like liquid. The 3 of them turned, their gazes fixed on the growing darkness. Kate tightened her grip on the box that held the seal. Whatever's coming, she said, her voice steady despite fear coursing through her. We face it together. And then the shadows came alive. Chapter 4. The Eternal Guest. The shadows surged forward, coiling and snapping like tendrils. Kate, Mira, and Adrian scrambled back, their breaths ragged as the darkness took shape. From the writhing void emerged twisted figures, half-formed, their faces blank, slates of smooth skin, their movements jerky and unnatural. They advanced silently, their presence exuding malice. "Run!" Adrian shouted, grabbing Kate's arm, but the road behind them warped, the cobblestones dissolving into a black abyss. There was no escape. "We have to fight!" Mira yelled, grabbing a rusted metal rod from the debris-strewn street. "These things aren't real. They're just tricks." The creatures lunged. Mira swung her rod with desperate strength, shattering one of the figures like glass. It dissolved into smoke, but two more took its place. Adrian stumbled back, his eyes wide with terror, as another reached for him. Kate acted on instinct. She hurled the box containing the seal at the nearest figure. The moment it struck, the creature recoiled, its body rippling as though struck by lightning. The glow from the seal intensified, and the shadowy forms hesitated, as if it repelled. "It's the seal!" Kate shouted. "They're afraid of it!" Mira grabbed the box, thrusting it toward the advancing creatures. They shrank back, their shapes flickering like dying flames. The three survivors regrouped, retreating into an alleyway as the shadows dissipated. "That thing is our only weapon," Mira panted, her grip on the box firm. "We need to figure out how to use it before we're overwhelmed." Adrian slumped against the wall, his face pale. "You think this is all some kind of test?" he muttered. "A sick game? To see how far we'll go before we break?" Kate knelt beside him. "Maybe. Or maybe it's worse. The man I spoke to, Brant, said this place feeds on fear and regret. It's not just trying to scare us. It's trying to consume us." Mira scoffed. "Then let's not give it what it wants. If this thing," she held up the box, "can hurt them, maybe it can hurt whatever's controlling this place." Kate nodded, but unease gnawed at her. The seal had been silent for now, but she could feel its power, heavy and ominous. "We have to keep moving. Staying here makes us sitting ducks." As they navigated the twisted streets, the environment seemed to shift with every step. Buildings bent and curved, their surfaces slick with a strange pulsating substance. Windows showed not reflections, but glimpses of other places, familiar, yet distorted. Kate caught flashes of her childhood home, her father's study, and the hospital room where her sister had died. The visions unsettled her, but Mira pressed forward with purpose, her defiance a sharp contrast to Adrian's growing despair. "Do you ever stop moving?" Adrian grumbled as they passed a broken fountain where black water seeped into the cracks. "Stopping means dying," Mira shot back. "I don't plan on being forgotten." Kate glanced at her. "You keep saying that. Forgotten. What does it mean?" Mira hesitated, her expression darkening. "I met someone when I first got here, a kid. He said the forgotten are the ones who couldn't escape their guilt. They become part of the cloister, just like those things we fought." Kate shuddered. "So they're people?" "They were," said Mira grimly. "Now they're just empty shells." The group turned a corner and found themselves facing a massive building. It loomed over them, its facade riddled with grotesque carvings, twisting faces, frozen in expressions of agony. A large, arched doorway stood open, beckoning like a gaping maw. "That's where we're supposed to go, isn't it?" Adrian muttered, staring at the structure. Kate felt a pull, a magnetic force drawing her toward the entrance. The seal in her hand seemed to pulse in response, its light flickering like a heartbeat. "It's the center," she said softly. "Whatever's controlling this place is in there." Mira eyed the doorway warily. "Walking into the beast's mouth doesn't sound like a smart plan." "We don't have a choice," Kate said, her voice steady. "This ends here." Adrian groaned. "Or we do." Inside, the air was thick and stifling, carrying a metallic tang that burned Kate's throat. The walls of the building were alive, their surfaces crawling with veins that glowed faintly. The group moved cautiously, the silence broken only by their footsteps and the occasional creak of the shifting architecture. At the end of the hall, they found a chamber dominated by a massive circular platform. In the center stood a pedestal, and atop it rested an identical seal, larger, more intricate, and pulsing with a blinding light. Kate stepped forward, but the moment she did, the air grew cold. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in smoke, his presence suffocating. It was the unseen. "How dare you defy me?" it hissed, its voice a cacophony of whispers. "You are nothing but fractured souls clinging to your pain. You will join the Forgotten." Mira raised the seal, its glow brightening as she faced the entity. "Stay back!" The unseen recoiled momentarily, but its laughter echoed through the chamber. "Your defiance amuses me, but it is futile. This place is mine, and you will never leave." Kate's mind raced as she stared at the larger seal on the pedestal. It felt like the source of the cloister's power, and if she could reach it. "Distract it!" she yelled, running toward the platform. Adrian and Mira hesitated, but Mira quickly hurled the box at the creature. The seal inside erupted with light, momentarily driving the unseen back. Adrian, trembling, grabbed a loose brick and flung it at the entity, adding to the distraction. Kate climbed the platform, her legs shaking as the air grew heavier. The seal on the pedestal glowed brighter, blinding her as she reached for it. "No!" the unseen roared, surging forward. Kate's fingers closed around the seal, and the world shattered into light. Chapter 5. Shards of the Past. Kate's world dissolved into a searing white void as her hand gripped the larger seal of the pedestal. The sound of shattering glass echoed around her, and she felt weightless, suspended in a space where time and reality no longer held sway. When the light finally dimmed, she found herself standing in a vast hall, its walls lined with towering mirrors. Each mirror reflected not her image, but fragments of her life, moments she had tried to bury. She stumbled forward, her pulse racing as she recognized one scene, her sister's hospital room. The image flickered, showing a frail girl in a sterile bed, her face pale and drawn. Kate's chest tightened as guilt surged through her. "Emily," she whispered, reaching out instinctively, but the glass was cold and unyielding. The scene shifted, and Kate saw herself as a young woman standing outside the hospital, her suitcase in hand. She remembered the moment vividly, the decision to leave, to escape the weight of her sister's illness. Tears burned her eyes. "She needed you," a voice said, now accusing. Kate spun around to see the unseen emerging from the shadows, its form even more grotesque than before. The black smoke that surrounded it now writhed with the faces of those it had consumed, their silent screams etched in agony. "Stop this!" Kate demanded, her voice shaking. "I know what you're trying to do." "You know nothing," the unseen replied, its voice overlapping like a discordant choir. "The cloister is a mirror, Catherine Moreau. It shows the truths you refuse to face." Kate clenched her fist. "I've faced my guilt. I know I made mistakes, but I won't let you use them against me." The unseen's laughter reverberated through the hall. Guilt is but one shard of your fractured soul. You will face them all before the end. Behind her, Mira and Adrian appeared, stumbling as though disoriented. Mira recovered quickly, her sharp gaze sweeping the room. What the hell is this place now? It's showing me my past, Kate said, her voice barely above a whisper. Our regrets, our fears, that's what it's feeding on. Adrian stepped closer to one of the mirrors, his face pale as he stared into it. The reflection showed him standing in an art gallery, surrounded by his paintings, but the crowd was laughing, their faces twisted with mockery. They said I was a fraud, Adrian muttered, his voice breaking, that I'd stolen every idea I'd ever had. Don't look at it, Mira snapped, grabbing his arm. It's trying to break you. Adrian wrenched free. It doesn't matter. It's true. And I've never created anything original. I deserve this. Before Kate could stop him, Adrian stepped into the mirror. The glass rippled like water, swallowing him whole. Kate and Mira screamed his name, but he was gone. Where did he go? Mira demanded, her voice trembling for the first time. The unseen loomed closer. To the forgotten, it said simply. He could not endure the truth of his soul. Mira turned to Kate, her expression hardening. We have to destroy this place before it takes us too. Kate nodded, her determination growing. The seal. There has to be a way to use it. It's the only thing that can hurt this thing. But before they could act, the mirrors began to shatter one by one. Each fragment that fell dissolved into shadow, and the shadows gathered, swirling around the unseen like a vortex. You think you can resist me, it hissed. You will all fall. The vortex expanded, and the hall began to collapse. Kate and Mira ran, dodging falling debris as the mirrors continued to shatter. The fragments on the floor began to glow, their light pulsing in sync with the seal Kate carried. Wait, Kate yelled, stopping abruptly. The shards, they're connecting to the seal. We need to collect them. Mira hesitated, but the determination in Kate's voice convinced her. Together, they began gathering the glowing shards, their hands moving quickly, despite the chaos around them. Each shard they collected seemed to weaken, the unseen, its form flickering and distorting. Hurry, Mira shouted as a massive beam crashed down behind them. With the final shard in hand, Kate placed them on the seal. The pieces fused instantly, the seal glowing brighter than ever before. The light erupted in a blinding wave, engulfing the hall and piercing the unseen shadowy form. It howled in rage, its voice fractured into coherent screams as the light consumed it. When the light faded, Kate found herself back in the desolate streets of the cloister. Mira lay beside her, groaning as she pushed herself to her feet. Did we do it? Mira asked, her voice hoarse. Kate held up the seal. It was whole again, but its glow was faint, almost dormant. I think we weakened it, but it's not over. And what about Adrian? Mira asked, her tone softer now. Kate shook her head, her heart heavy. I don't know. But before they could say more, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The cloister was changing again, its structure shifting and warping into a new form. We need to keep moving, Kate said, her resolve hardening. This isn't the end. It's just the beginning. Together, they turned toward the unknown. The seal in Kate's hand, their only hope against the darkness that still loomed. Chapter 6. Bargaining with Shadows. The shifting terrain of the cloister seemed endless as Kate and Mira trudged forward. The jagged streets had transformed into a sprawling wasteland of black sand dotted with towering monoliths that pulsed faintly with a sickly green light. Each step felt heavier, the air thick with despair. The cloister was testing their resolve. Kate glanced at Mira, who carried the seal now, her grip as tight as the grim determination etched on her face. "We're getting closer," Kate said, though she wasn't sure how she knew. The seal seemed to hum faintly, guiding their path like a compass. "And closer to dying," Mira replied, not breaking her stride. "What's the plan anyway? You really think we can destroy this thing?" Kate hesitated. "I don't know, but I think the seal is the key. It's connected to the unseen. It's part of its power, if we can use it." A low rumble interrupted her. The monoliths trembled, and the ground beneath them cracked. From the fissures emerged humanoid shapes, their forms twisted and incomplete, as though hastily sculpted from clay. They staggered toward the two women, their movements jerky and unnatural. "Not again," Mira muttered, dropping the seal into her bag and drawing the metal rod she had scavenged earlier. "You keep that thing safe. I'll handle these." "Mira, wait!" Kate called, but Mira was already charging, her rod swinging in deadly arcs. The creatures were relentless, their bodies breaking apart with each strike, only to reform seconds later. Mira gritted her teeth, sweat pouring down her face as she fought. Meanwhile, Kate clutched the bag tightly, her mind racing for a solution. "Mira, we can't fight them forever," Kate yelled. "Then think of something fast," Mira shouted back, narrowly avoiding a clawed swipe. Kate's eyes darted to the monoliths. Her glow seemed to pulse in time with the creature's movements. A thought struck her. The monoliths, they're controlling them. "Great! How do we stop them?" Kate didn't answer. She ran towards the nearest monolith, dodging the creatures as they turned their attention to her. The air around the structure felt oppressive, a wave of nausea washing over as she approached. She placed her hand on its surface and gasped as a vision flooded her mind. In the vision, she saw Brant kneeling before the seal, his face twisted with desperation. He muttered words she couldn't understand, his voice trembling with fear. The seal pulsed and shadows erupted from it, enveloping him. The vision shifted, showing the cloister being born, a place of endless torment, created from Brant's deal with the unseen. Kate pulled her hand away, her heart racing. "It's all connected," she whispered. "What is?" Mira yelled, struggling against a creature that had pinned her to the ground. "Brant. He made a deal with the unseen. That's how all of this started." "Fantastic. Can you file that under things that don't help right now and do something?" Kate turned back to the monolith. If the seal could create the cloister, then maybe it could also undo it. She pulled the bag open and retrieved the seal. Its glow intensified as she approached the monolith. "Here goes nothing," she muttered, pressing the seal against the pulsating structure. The reaction was immediate. The monolith cracked, its glow sputtering out as a shockwave rippled through the wasteland. The creatures faltered, their bodies crumbling into dust. Mira scrambled to her feet, breathing hard. "Whatever you just did, do it again," she said. Kate nodded, but before they could move to the next monolith, the ground heaved violently. A deafening roar filled the air as the unseen materialized before them, its form towering and monstrous. Gone was the shadowy figure from before. Now it was a mass of writhing limbs and faces, as many voices screaming in unison. "You dare defy me," it bellowed, its voice shaking the air. "This is my domain. You will suffer." Kate felt the weight of its presence pressing down on her, her knees buckling, but Mira grabbed her arm, steadying her. "Keep going," Mira said firmly. "I'll distract it." "No," Kate said, shaking her head. "You'll die." "Then we both die," Mira replied, gripping her rod tightly. But at least we'll die fighting. Mira charged at the unseen, yelling to draw its attention. The creature roared, its massive limbs swiping at her, but she moved with agility, dodging its attacks. Meanwhile, Kate ran toward the second monolith, the seal glowing brighter with each step. She pressed the seal to the structure, and another shockwave tore through the cloister. The unseen screamed, its form flickering as cracks appeared along its grotesque surface. Kate turned to Mira. "One more!" Mira nodded, but didn't have time to reply as the unseen lashed out, a tendril striking her across the chest. She flew backward, landing hard. Kate screamed, running toward her, but Mira waved her off. "Do it!" she shouted, blood trickling from her mouth. Kate hesitated, tears streaming down her face, but she knew Mira was right. She ran to the final monolith, dodging the unseen's furious attacks. The ground crumbled beneath her, but she pressed on, clutching the seal tightly. As she reached the last monolith, the unseen surged towards her, its massive form blotting out the dim light of the cloister. Kate screamed as she thrust the seal against the monolith, pouring every ounce of her will into the act. The seal erupted with light, blinding and all-consuming. The monolith shattered. A massive wave of energy surged outward, tearing through the cloister. The unseen howled, its body disintegrating as the light consumed it. Kate collapsed to the ground, the seal falling from her hands. The wasteland around her began to fade, replaced by a void of endless white. She turned to see Mira lying motionless, her body broken, her face peaceful. As the light grew brighter, Kate closed her eyes, unsure of what awaited her. The cloister was gone, but at what cost? Chapter 7. The Broken Seal. When Kate opened her eyes, she was lying on the cold, cracked ground of the cloister. The oppressive darkness was gone, replaced by an eerie twilight, the jagged remnants of the monoliths surrounding her. Their pulsating glow extinguished. The seal lay a few feet away, its once vivid light now dim and flickering weakly. "Mira!" Kate called, her voice hoarse. There was no reply. Panic surged through her as she scanned the area. Then she spotted her. Mira lay motionless, a few yards away, her chest rising and falling faintly. Relief flooded Kate as she crawled to her, wincing with every movement. "Mira, wake up!" Kate said, shaking her gently. Mira groaned, her eyes fluttered open. "Did we win?" Mira muttered, her voice strained. Kate forced a weak smile. "We stopped it, for now." Mira sat up, slowly, clutching her ribs. "What does that mean? I thought destroying the monoliths would end this." Kate glanced at the seal. Its glow was almost completely gone, the ruins on its surface faint and cracked. "The unseen is weakened, but it's not gone. I think the seal is the only thing keeping it from returning. If it breaks completely—" Mira didn't need her to finish. "Then we'd better make sure that it doesn't happen." The landscape around them began to shift again, the ground rippling like water. Kate and Mira struggled to their feet, their bodies battered, but the resolve intact. The cloister was reforming itself, its distorted geometry folding inward like a collapsing labyrinth. It was as though the realm itself was retreating, its power sapped by the destruction of the monoliths. "Where do we go now?" Mira asked, gripping her rod for support. Kate hesitated, clutching the seal tightly. "We need to find a way out. The cloister is trying to rebuild itself, but it's weaker now. This might be our only chance." As they began to move, the air grew colder, and a faint whispering sound filled the space around them. The voices were indistinct, overlapping like a crowd murmuring just out of earshot. Kate shivered, recognizing the cadence. The Forgotten," she whispered. Mira stiffened. "They're still here?" "They are part of the cloister," Kate said, "and they're angry." The whispering grew louder, and the shadowy figures began to emerge from the corners of their vision. Unlike the mindless wraiths that they had encountered before, these beings seemed deliberate in their movements, their hollow eyes fixed on Kate and Mira. One stepped forward, its skeletal hand outstretched. "You took our chance," it rasped. Its voice was a mix of rage and sorrow. "We could have been free." Kate took a step back. "I don't understand." "You destroyed the monoliths," the figure said, its voice rising. "We were bound to them, and now we are nothing. The cloister will consume us, and we will fade." Mira raised her rod defensively. "You're blaming us for this? You attacked us." Another figure stepped forward, its form barely holding together. "We were desperate. The cloister promised us escape, but it was a lie. Now we are trapped forever." Kate's heart ached at their words, but she steeled herself. "I'm sorry," she said, "but if the cloister survived, it would have taken more lives. I couldn't let that happen." The shadow hissed, their forms flickering. "You must leave," one said, its tone softening slightly. "If the seal fails, the cloister will rebuild itself. You must take it far from here." Kate clutched the seal tighter. "How do we leave?" The figures pointed towards the horizon, where a faint light shimmered, a doorway suspended in the air. "Go now," the first figure said. "Do not look back." Kate nodded, grabbing Mira's arm. Together, they stumbled toward the light, their steps heavy with exhaustion. The shadows did not follow, but their presence lingered, a silent reminder of the lives lost to the cloister's grip. As they neared the doorway, the ground began to quake violently. Cracks spiderwebbed across the terrain, and the faint hum of the seal grew louder. Kate glanced down and saw the fractures spreading across its surface. "It's breaking," she said, panic rising in her chest. Merrick tightened her grip on Kate's arm. "We're almost there. Don't stop now." The light grew brighter as they approached, and the air around them felt thinner, lighter. Kate reached out. Her fingers brushed the edge of the doorway. For a brief moment she felt weightless, the oppressive weight of the cloister lifting from her shoulders. And then the seal shattered. The sound was deafening, a piercing crack that seemed to split the very air. Kate was thrown forward, her body hurtling through the doorway as the light consumed her vision. She heard Mira scream, but the sound was swallowed by the roar of collapsing reality. When Kate opened her eyes again, she was lying on soft grass. The sun was shining, its warmth unfamiliar after the coldness of the cloister. She sat up slowly, her heart pounding. Around her was a forest, its trees swaying gently in the breeze. "Mira," she called, her voice trembling. There was no response. Kate's hands trembled as she looked around. She was alone. The seal was gone, its power expended. The doorway had vanished, leaving no trace of the cloister behind. For a moment she felt relief, but it was quickly replaced by a deep, gnawing guilt. She had escaped, but at what cost? The wind whispered through the trees, carrying a faint, familiar hum. Kate froze, her blood running cold. The cloister was gone, but its shadow lingered, a faint echo of the nightmare she had survived, and somewhere she knew the unseen was waiting. Chapter 8. The New Bond. The forest around Kate was unnervingly serene, its vibrant greens and warm sunlight starkly contrasting the suffocating darkness of the cloister. Yet the stillness carried a weight, as if the world held its breath. Kate's head throbbed, her body ached, and her hands trembled as she pushed herself upright. "Mira!" she called again, her voice echoing through the trees. Nothing answered but the wind, carrying a faint, haunting melody that seemed almost familiar. Kate turned in every direction, desperate for any sign of her companion. but there was nothing. No footprints, no broken branches, no indication that Mira had ever been there. "She can't be gone," Kate whispered to herself, her voice crackling. "She fought harder than anyone." The faint hum of the seal had vanished, but the memory of its vibration still clung to her, like the ghosts of a song. Without the seal, she felt unmoored, as though part of her had been severed. Yet something lingered in its place, a sensation deep in her chest, a connection, tenuous but undeniable. As she moved through the forest, Kate's thoughts churned. What had happened when the seal shattered? Had it destroyed the cloister entirely? Or had it simply dispersed its power? And where was Mira? Her path led her to a clearing where the sunlight pooled like liquid gold. In the center stood a stone monolith, smaller and smoother than the ones in the cloister, but carved with the same intricate runes. The sight of it sent a shiver down her spine. "You cannot run from it." The voice was low and resonant, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. Kate spun around, her heart pounding. Standing at the edge of the clearing was Brant, his figure shadowed but unmistakable. "You," she breathed, anger flaring in her chest. "You're the reason all of this happened." Brant stepped forward, his expression grim. "I made a mistake, yes, but you've taken my place now." "What are you talking about?" Kate demanded, her voice rising. "The seal is gone. The cloister is gone. It's over." Brent's lips curled into a faint, joyless smile. "The seal may be broken, but the power remains. It has chosen you as its new vessel. You are bound to it now, just as I was." Kate took a step back, shaking her head. "No, I don't want this. I didn't ask for any of it." "Neither did I," Brant said, his voice softening. "But the cloister isn't just a place. It's an idea, a force. It exists because humanity's pain and regret give it shape. Destroying the seal only released its power unto you. You carry it now." Kate's hands clenched into fists. "If that's true, then why are you still here?" Brant's gaze darkened. "Because my bond is not entirely severed. The cloister clings to those it consumes. I am but an echo, a reminder of what awaits you if you fail." The ground beneath them began to tremble, and the monolith in the clearing pulsed with light. Kate stumbled back as shadowy tendrils emerged from its base, twisting and reaching toward her. She felt the pull again, the same magnetic force that had drawn her to the seal in the first place. "No," she said, her voice shaking. "I won't let it take me." Brant's figure flickered, his form fading in and out like a dying flame. "You don't have a choice. The bond is part of you now. You can either master it or let it consume you." Kate's mind raced as the tendrils crept closer. She reached for something, anything to defend herself, but her hands were empty. Desperation clawed at her throat. "Fight it, Catherine," Brant's voice rang out, distant but insistent. "Use the power before it uses you." Kate closed her eyes, focusing on the connection she felt deep within her. The sensation was overwhelming, a chaotic swirl of energy and emotion that threatened to drown her. But amidst the chaos, she found a thread of clarity, a pulse of light that felt like her own heartbeat. She reached for it. The tendrils stopped inches from her, writhing as if in agony. Kate opened her eyes, and the clearing was bathed in a faint glow emanating from her hands. The shadows recoiled, retreating back into the monolith, which cracked and crumbled into dust. Brant's figure appeared again, his expression unreadable. "You've taken the first step, but this is only the beginning." Kate staggered, her vision swimming. "I didn't ask for this," her voice barely above a whisper. "I just want my life back." "Your life is no longer your own," Brant said. "The power you carry can either destroy or protect. But if you do nothing, The cloister will rebuild itself stronger than before. Kate looked at him, her anger rising. Then help me. You caused this, so help me end it. Brant hesitated, his form flickering again. I cannot interfere directly. My time is over, but I can guide you, for now. Before Kate could respond, Brant's figure dissolved into mist, leaving her alone in the clearing. The forest was silent once more, but Kate no longer felt the same oppressive weight. Instead, she felt a spark of something new. Hope, perhaps, or the beginnings of resolve. As she turned to leave the clearing, the faint hum returned, a reminder of the power that now lived within her. She didn't know where her path would lead, but one thing was clear. She couldn't run from it. The cloister had chosen her, but this time she would be the one to decide its fate. Chapter 9. Sacrifice and Salvation. The forest thinned as Kate trudged forward, her thoughts a storm of questions and fears. The faint hum of the power inside her never ceased, a constant reminder of the bond she now carried. Every step seemed to pull her toward an unseen destination, a call she couldn't resist. Hours, or perhaps days, passed before she emerged into another clearing. This one was vast, dominated by a towering black spire that pierced the heavens. Its surface shimmered like liquid obsidian, and the air around it was electric with energy. Kate's heart sank. She knew instinctively this was the heart of the cloister's power, a final remnant of the entity she had fought to destroy. And standing at its base was Mira. Mira! Kate cried, rushing forward. Mira turned, her face pale and gaunt, her eyes dark with exhaustion, but she smiled faintly, relief flickering across her features. You're alive, she said, her voice thin. So are you, Kate said, her relief quickly tempered by concern. What happened? How did you get here? Mira glanced at the spire, expression tightening. I don't know. One moment, I was falling into nothing, and the next, I was here. It feels alive. Kate approached the spire cautiously, her body tense. The hum inside her grew louder as she neared, resonating with the structure. It's the cloister, she said, her voice low. What's left of it, anyway? Mira nodded grimly. It's trying to rebuild itself, and I think it's using me to do it. Kate's eyes widened. What are you talking about? Mira held out her hands, and Kate saw faint tendrils of shadow curling around her fingers. I can feel it inside me. It's trying to use my fear, my regrets. If I stay here much longer, I'll become one of the forgotten. No, Kate said firmly, stepping closer. We'll stop it. We've come too far to let it win now. Mira shook her head. I don't think we can stop it without a sacrifice. The word hit Kate like a blow. What are you saying? The cloister's power is tied to the seal, right? Mira said, her voice steadying despite the tremor in her hands. And the seal's energy is tied to you now. But this spire, it's drawing from me. If I give in to it, maybe I can weaken it enough for you to destroy it. No, Kate said sharply. I won't let you do that. We'll find another way. There is no other way, Mira said, her tone hardening. You know as well as I do that this thing doesn't just die. It has to be torn apart from within. Kate's chest tightened. We've already lost so much. I'm not losing you too. Mira stepped closer, placing a hand on Kate's shoulder. You've been fighting to save everyone, Kate. Let me do the same. If this is how I can make it right, then let me. Before Kate could respond, the ground beneath them shuddered, and the spire pulsed with a blinding light. Shadows erupted from its surface, writhing and snapping like living creatures. The air filled with the echo of the unseen's voice, distorted and furious. You cannot destroy me, it roared. I am eternal. Your efforts are meaningless. Kate gritted her teeth. raising her hands as the light within her flared to life. The shadows recoiled, their forms wavering in the presence of her power. But the spire pulsed again, stronger this time, and Kate staggered under the force of its energy. Mira grabbed her arm. "You can't do this alone. Use me." "No!" Kate yelled, but Mira's expression was resolute. "Trust me," Mira said, her voice softer now. "This is the only way." With a cry of determination, Mira stepped towards the spire. The shadows swirled around her, latching onto her body like chains. She winced, but couldn't falter, her gaze fixed on Kate. "Destroy it, Kate. Finish this." Kate's heart broke as she watched Mira's form begin to dissolve, the shadows consuming her piece by piece. The spire trembled, its glow dimming as Mira's sacrifice sapped its strength. Tears streamed down Kate's face as she stepped forward, the power within her building to an unbearable crescendo. She pressed her hands against the spire, and the light within her erupted, flooding the clearing with radiance. The spire cracked and shattered, its pieces dissolving into nothingness. The shadows screamed as they were consumed, their cries fading into silence. When the light dimmed, the clearing was empty. The spire was gone, and the hum inside Kate had vanished. She fell to her knees, sobs racking her body as the weight of what she had lost crushed her. A faint breeze stirred the air, carrying with it a familiar voice. "Thank you," Mira's voice whispered, soft and fleeting. Kate looked up, her tears blurring her vision. The clearing was bathed in golden light, and for a brief moment she thought she saw Mira standing there, whole and smiling, but the image faded, leaving only the quiet forest behind. Kate stood slowly, her body aching, but her heart steadied by a new resolve. Mira's sacrifice had given her a chance to end the cloister's cycle of torment, and she wouldn't let it be in vain. She turned toward the forest, the path ahead uncertain, but her purpose clear. The cloister's power had been broken, but the scars it left would remain. Kate would carry those scars and the memory of Mira with her as she faced whatever came next. For the first time in what felt like forever, the world was quiet. Chapter 10. A New Guardian. The forest stretched endlessly before Kate, its silence unnerving but oddly comforting. The shadows that had once clung to her like a second skin were gone, yet their absence left her feeling strangely hollow. The path was no longer clear, the invisible pull of the cloister's power now a faint memory. She carried only herself and the weight of Mira's sacrifice. Kate's steps were heavy as she walked, her body sore and her spirit fractured. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long golden rays through the canopy. She paused to rest against a tree, the cool bark grounding her. For the first time since she had entered the cloister, she allowed herself to breathe. And then she felt it, a faint pulse in the air, a ripple that brushed against her skin like a ghost's touch. Her hand instinctively went to her chest, where the hum of the seal had once resonated. It was gone, yet something lingered, a fragment of its energy, a reminder of its presence. "You can't rest yet." The voice startled her, and she spun around, her heart pounding. Standing behind her was a figure cloaked in twilight, its feature obscured. It wasn't Brant, nor was it Mira. It felt detached, yet impossibly familiar. "Who are you?" Kate asked, her voice sharper than she intended. The figure stepped closer, and the light around it seemed to dim. "I am what remains," it said. Its voice was layered, 100 tones speaking in unison. "The power you destroyed did not vanish. It shifted. It has chosen you as its vessel." "No," Kate said, backing away. "I destroyed the cloister. I broke the seal. It's over." The figure tilted its head as if amused. "You severed the link, but the power cannot be erased. It clings to you now, waiting to be shaped. Whether you become its destroyer or its guardian is your choice. I don't want it, Kate snapped, her voice trembling. I never wanted any of this. Want has nothing to do with it, the figure replied. You were chosen because you carry the burden of regret, of pain. That is what the power craves and what it fears. Kate's breath quickened, anger surging through her. You talk like this is a gift, but it's not. It's a curse. It's taken everything from me. And yet you stand, the figure said. You are stronger than you believe. The cloister's power has passed to you, but so has the responsibility to wield it. If you do nothing, the cycle will begin again. Others will suffer as you have suffered. Kate's hands clenched into fists. What am I supposed to do? The figure gestured towards the horizon, where the forest gave way to rolling hills, bathed in golden light. You must decide. Use the power to build or to destroy. But know this, the choice is not without consequence. Kate hesitated, the weight of the figure's words settling on her shoulders. She had spent so long fighting the cloister, pushing against its grip, that she hadn't considered what would come after. Now the future stretched before her, vast and uncertain. The figure began to fade, its form dissolving into the twilight. Remember this, Catherine Moreau. Power does not define you. What you do with it does. Kate reached out, but the figure was already gone. Leaving her alone once more, she sank to her knees, her thoughts churning. The idea of wielding the cloister's power terrified her, but the alternative, letting it fester, waiting for someone else to stumble into its trap, was unthinkable. She thought of Mira and Adrian, of the countless souls who had been lost to the cloister. Their pain had shaped her, just as her own regrets had brought her to this moment. She couldn't undo the past, but perhaps she could ensure that no one else suffered as they had. With a deep breath, Kate stood. Her body still ached, but her resolve was steady. She turned towards the hills, the golden light warming her skin. The path ahead was unclear, but she would walk it, step by step, burden by burden. As she moved forward, the faint hum returned, no longer a threat, but a companion. The power within her was neither wholly dark nor wholly light. It was what she would make of it. For the first time, she felt a sense of control, a quiet strength that had been absent for so long. She was no longer Catherine Moreau, the woman who had been trapped by her guilt. She was something new, a guardian perhaps, or a destroyer. Time would decide. The forest thinned as she reached the edge of the hills, and the horizon stretched endlessly before her. The sun dipped low, casting the world in shades of amber and crimson. She paused, the wind brushing her face, carrying with it a faint, familiar voice. Thank you. Kate closed her eyes, a single tear slipping down her cheek. Then, with renewed purpose, she stepped into the light. Epilogue. The endless cycle. Far away, in a place where light and shadow intertwined, the remnants of the cloister stirred. Its power had been shattered, its domain collapsed, but the echoes of its existence remained. A fragment of its essence pulsed faintly, waiting for the next fractured soul to stumble upon its call. For now it was silent, but the cycle was never truly broken, and somewhere Catherine Moreau walked her chosen path, the weight of her decision etched into every step. Hey friends, thank you so much for joining me in the reading of The Forgotten Cloister today. Your presence meant the world to me, and I can't express how grateful I am that you took the time to follow Kate Moreau through her trials, both the lighthearted and the utterly chaotic. I promise the chaos was entirely intentional, mostly. The story was built from shadows, symbols, and the quiet ache of memory. It's a tapestry woven with threads of nostalgia, and I hope you felt that deep connection as we journeyed together. I know exactly how many cups of coffee it took me to stay awake and bring this world to life. Let's just say it was enough to fuel a small cafe. Your support not only fuels my passion, but also reminds me that stories have the power to unite us. It's a wild ride we're on, and I'm thrilled to have you as fellow travelers. I invite you to explore my website, freemanvaleauthor.com, where you can dive into my other literary offerings. Who knows? You might just stumble upon a character or two who's as delightfully complicated as Kate. Once again, thank you for being part of this adventure. Let's keep the conversation going, and maybe, just maybe, I'll share more of my stories that are just waiting to be told, complete with their own set of quirks and maybe a dash of sarcasm. Thank you, guys. Once again, I'm Edward Freeman. I'm the author of The Forgotten Cloister, as well as a few other books. And once again, you can find those books at freemanvaleauthor.com. That's FREEMANVALEAUTHOR.com. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed. And when I can, I will try to do another book or two of mine. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope to see you come back. You have a great day. And if you enjoyed The Forgotten Cloister, I'd love for you to show some love by liking, subscribing, and sharing. And your feedback means everything to me. So don't hold back. Let me know what you loved and what you didn't. Remember, hitting all those buttons is completely free for you, but makes a huge difference for the channel. If you really want to spread the word, sharing the video with friends and fellow book lovers would be a fantastic way to help the stories reach more readers. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Your support is what keeps the pages turning.